Good morning. Whoa. Take two. Good morning. So lovely to see everyone here this morning. I feel like I'm echoey. Am I echoey? Yes. Sound guru, can we make me less echoey, please? That's sounding better. Can you still hear me? No. Keep trying. All right. I'll just keep talking and Barry will work his magic. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here this morning. And anyone who's joining us online later, we're really glad that you're here. Here we are at the North Shore Unitarians. That is a place we all love. It's our home. Here we build community, and we do that with love. We know that here at the North Shore Unitarians, our purpose is to... I fumbled that one. Let's try that again. Of course, our purpose is to empower people to live with depth, meaning, and purpose, and we do that with love. We answer the call of love. We show up with love. We hold with love. We lead with love. We leave with love. And sometimes we say goodbye with love. We do that because of the power of love in the world. Whether that love is soft and gentle and easy, or whether it's pointed and sharp and difficult and takes patience and deep breaths of courage. We work with love. That's what we do here. No matter what each of us believe, we are here to live with love. No matter what we believe about this world, about maybe an afterlife, about maybe or not a higher power, our job is to live on this earth with love. That's what we do. So welcome everyone this morning. It's my delight to introduce Reverend Shawn Gauthier, who some of you may remember as Reverend Shawn Newton, his former name. It's a delight, Shawn, to have you here this morning. As you know, Shawn is the new settled minister at UCV, Vancouver Unitarians, now rebranded as VanU. And yes. We're trying to be more subtle about ours, okay, Shawn? North Shore Unitarians. So, Shawn, you were, before moving to Vancouver a year ago with your husband, Bob, who we're delighted is here today. Welcome, Bob. You were, for 16 years, the senior minister at First Unitarian Congregation of Toronto. And Shawn's originally from the US, did his Master's of Divinity at Harvard, and then did a number of kind of post-grad studies at University of Toronto. Yeah, and it sounds like you're enjoying kind of settling here in BC and exploring some of the beautiful places that we have. I just want to give an extra shout out. Our community, I think you've held in love even before you stepped in our pulpit. And for the last year, Barry and I and some of the members of the board have actually reached out to Shawn a few times as we embarked on this community of lay-led life. And Shawn, you've always been so gracious and generous with your time. And so I feel like, yeah, you know us a little bit even before stepping into our pulpit today. So thank you for being here. Yeah, you're on.
So good morning. It is a joy and honor to be with you finally and to get to know our neighbors across the way. I'm mindful too that it's the equinox, and so it's nice to gather as we turn from summer to autumn and all that brings. I call us now into this time that we make sacred in our coming together with words by the UU minister Gretchen Haley. In a world that feeds on moral outrage, we are here to cultivate moral courage. In a time that prizes picking sides, we gather to draw a wider circle. And in a culture that teaches us to get for what we give and to ask what's in it for me, we come to practice generosity and to remember that we are all in this together. In the midst of life's bitterness, we choose to sing, to give thanks, to laugh together, and to be keepers of beauty, to offer a place of belonging for all who come in gladness and in pain, to resist the push to the next moment and the next, to slow down, to breathe more deeply, and to feel ourselves part of something greater. For this time and beyond, let us be the change we wish to see. Come, let us worship together.
Promise of the Spirit. willing to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim. We are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Answering the call of love. We gather on Sundays in this beautiful building on the beautiful woods of the North Shore, on the ancestral and unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, and we endeavor towards a healthier relationship both with all the people and the land that we all live on. We start our time together every week with the lighting of the chalice. This marks our time together as special or sacred. With reverence, we light the flame, physical and metaphorical, to remind us of the light and warmth we find in community. We kindle this flame as a symbol of our gathering. May the light of understanding illuminate our darkness. May the warmth of sharing bring us peace. Shawn, come on back. Yeah. It's good to laugh.
Eminently trainable.
That's good. Not everyone is. So as always, we light 2 other candles in our weekly ritual, and the first is for joys and sorrows. So this morning for joys, we hold up that Jean is here and well. For many months, Jean, we held you in our sorrows as you struggled to recover from your injury, and it's such a delight to hear that you're well and you're back in your studio creating. So we hold that in peace. Is well? Susan, yay, is well. Glad also to have you here, Susan. Thank you. And sorrows. Janelle Hilton is in the hospital, as we know, and Julia is sharing with us this morning that this Thursday she is going to have MAID. That will happen at 11 in the morning, and so 2 thoughts. 1, Thursday at 11, hold Janelle in your hearts. And second, she actually welcomes visitors. Anyone who would love to go and see her prior to Thursday, she would be very happy to see. And I think that's brave and beautiful. That's how we hold people in love. If you have questions, Julia is happy to answer. Maybe not happy to answer. Julia will answer. So let us hold Janelle in our hearts this morning. And lastly, we light our candle of global concern. There are 2 6-year-olds missing in Canada right now. One's in Manitoba, one's in northern BC. Can you imagine the families? So we hold them in our hearts. And beyond the walls of our country or the boundaries of our country, there are many atrocities happening in this world. So let's just take a moment, and however you do it, by sending these thoughts in the world or holding thoughts in your heart or saying a quiet prayer, let's just take a moment of quiet for the atrocities of the world and the people that are living bravely and ferociously in the world. Thank you. May this world one day know peace.
The reading I have for you today is called No Glory in Unjust War on the Weak by Barbara Kingsolver. In the long run, I find it hardest to bear adversaries on the other end of the spectrum, those who couldn't care less, who won't or can't fathom the honest depths of love and grief, who opt out of the bull ride through life in favor of a sleeping berth. These are the ones who say it's ridiculous to imagine that the world could be made better than it is. The more sophisticated approach they suggest is to accept that we are all on a jolly road trip down the maw of catastrophe, so shut up and drive. I fight that. I fight it as if I were drowning. When I come down to this feeling that I am an army of one, standing out on the broad plain, waving my little flag of hope, I call up a friend or two and offer to make dinner. We remind ourselves that we aren't standing apart from the crowd. We are a crowd. We're a prairie fire, a church choir, and the dominant chord in the song of the world. 1 million students rejecting the tyranny of a logo and the sweatshop behind it. 1,000 farmers in India lying down on their soil to prevent its being seeded with a crop that would steal their history and their future. 100 sheep farmers in southern France defying a fast food hegemony by making cheese in limestone caves just as their great-grandparents did. Tribal elders from east to west inviting peace to enter the world through its Hopi cloud dancers and its Sufi dancers. The women in black who stand in eloquent silence on every continent, refusing the wars that would eat their children alive. We are the theater of the street, the accurate joy of children's hearts, the literature of tomorrow's wisdom arrived today and just in time. I'm with Emma Goldman. Our revolution will have dancing and excellent food. In the long run, the choice of life over death is just too good to resist.
Step I of faith. heart. That strength will give for rowing there in the dark. Oh, it's time I will live out loud and open my eyes to the great divide. I'm walking my path, finding my way, and every step I leave of
The day had started out pretty much like any other. Almost 30 years ago, I walked into the restaurant where I had just gotten a job. It was a job that I very much needed, having recently made the move from Dallas to Boston with only enough money in my pocket for the deposit and the first month's rent on the apartment where I lived. My plan had been to fall back on waiting tables as I had done before while I sorted out my options for school and a steady job. That morning, I quickly got my table squared away, glassware and cutlery polished, salt and pepper shakers filled. I went to the shift meeting in the kitchen, and then by all reports, I promptly passed out, breaking my nose and splitting my chin in the process. It wasn't all bad. When I came to, I was being held in the arms of my hunky coworker, Ryan, the actor that I had a little crush on and who I still see on television from time to time. But truth is, it was bad. I was a mess, highly confused and covered in blood. An ambulance was called and I spent the rest of the day in the ER. I had all manner of tests and scans run on me and answered round after round of questions. No, I had never passed out like this before. No, I hadn't had anything to drink the previous night. Yes, I had had a good night's sleep. No, I wasn't doing drugs or taking any medications. And yes, I had had plenty to eat for breakfast that morning. In time, I got stitched up and sent home without any answers, without any sense of why it happened, and most jarringly, without any certainty that it wouldn't happen again. As I left hospital with bandages all over my face, I walked to the subway because I couldn't afford a taxi, having missed my shift that day. I felt anxious and I felt tremendously alone, not knowing anyone in the city well enough that I could ask for help. I felt vulnerable, wondering if I would pass out again and if I would injure myself even worse the next time. And I felt deeply afraid, fearful that if this did happen again, I might lose my job and I might not be able to make rent. I feared that my new life in a new city could come completely unraveled. Once inside the subway station, I kept my distance from the edge of the platform, a behavior that I practice still today, all these decades later, for fear that I might take a tumble onto the tracks at an inopportune moment. A current habit rooted in a now distant memory about how hard it is to feel so very terrified of what might come. That I have never passed out again does little to diminish the memory or the caution that I admit that I still carry with me. Once I was on the subway train that evening, I was apparently the most interesting thing to look at. With my bandaged face and bloodied shirt and just barely holding myself together, I apparently looked a lot tougher than I actually felt. People seemingly thought I had just been in a rough street fight. To the couple looking at my way inquisitively, I just said, "You should have seen the other guy." It was, after all, less embarrassing than confessing that I had lost a fight with the unforgiving terracotta tiles of the restaurant's kitchen floor. The most enduring lesson I took from this experience was that I never wanted to feel that way again. And by that, I don't so much mean the agonizing pain that I felt in my body with my swollen face and pounding headache, but the devastating fear and vulnerability I felt deep down in my soul. That is what fear will do to us. It is what vulnerability will do. Make us want nothing more than to feel safe and secure, cause us to put on a brave face and try to keep whatever we fear at bay. It's actually amazing sometimes the lengths we will go to do this. The colorful masks we create to disguise what we feel, the elaborate facades we erect to make it appear as though everything is okay, the fanciful stories we tell to conceal, even from ourselves, the hard truth that being human involves vulnerability and fear, and that to be alive means that we are susceptible to hardship and heartache, to grief and loss, to disease and death. In the words of the Buddhist teacher Bo Lossoff, the challenge of being alive is to accept and to know it in our bones that anything that can happen to a human being may happen to me. Anything that may happen to a human being may happen to me. This can be such an incredibly difficult thing for us to even acknowledge, let alone embrace. And it can be such an easy thing for us to sometimes forget. That is, until we are shaken awake by the end of a relationship we didn't see coming, a diagnosis we weren't the least bit prepared for, or the news of a sudden loss that just does not make any sense. It's easy to forget until we truly know that not every aspect of life can be controlled. It's easy to forget until we are reminded anew that to live is to be vulnerable, and that to be vulnerable means that we live with fear as a sure and steady companion. The challenge is to make peace with the presence of fear in our lives, to make peace with the knowledge that this being human means being well acquainted with vulnerability and with risk. Once we do this, if we can do this, we can begin to get real about the world around us, and we can begin to get real about ourselves. The Australian poet and cartoonist Michael Looning writes that in this world there are two feelings, love and fear. There are only two languages, love and fear. There are only two activities, love and fear. There are only two motives, two procedures, two frameworks, two results, love and fear. Love and fear. The question he seemingly suggests is which one we serve, which one we allow to guide our actions most of the time, which one in the end will give ultimate shape to our lives. But I wonder what would happen if we were more readily to see that what we fear is also so very often tied to what we love. For we fear because something vitally important is at stake, something precious, something of great value, be it our life or our livelihood, the safety of our nearest or our dearest, or the well-being of our community. Love can so very often be found on the flip side of fear. So it is not so much a choice between the two, but of coming to know them as of a piece, as two parts of life's whole, as two parts of a whole life. When we grasp this, our view of the world around us can start to shift in life-giving ways. When we can see through fear to find the love that may be at risk, the love that is on the line, the love that we most want to protect, we can better understand another's motives, and we can come to better understand our own. There's an old story told of travelers across a long and seldom used trail in the Amargosa Desert who would pass an old hand-cranked pump that offered the only hope of fresh drinking water along the way of their journey. Wired to the pump handle was a tin baking powder can, and inside the tin was a handwritten note that read, "This pump is all right as of June 1932. I put a new washer into it and it ought to last 5 years. But the washer dries out and the pump has to be primed every so often. Under the nearby white rock, you will find buried a bottle of water out of the sun with the cork end up. There's enough water there to prime the pump, but not if you drink any of it first. Pour about 1/4 out and let it soak the wet leather, then pour in the rest of the bottle medium fast, and then pump with gusto. You'll get water. The well has never run dry. Have faith. When you get watered up, fill the bottle again and put it back like you found it for the next person. Signed, Desert Pete. P.S. Don't go drinking up the water first. Prime the pump with it and you will get all the water that you can hold. I am not sure that I have ever heard a more concise articulation of Unitarian Universalist theology than that. Don't go drinking up all the water first. But how hard it can be to trust, to have faith, as Desert Pete put it, that what we have will be enough. To know when we are dying of thirst in the middle of some desert, that what we have at hand must sometimes be completely spent, our resources fully poured out to bring forth that which will sustain us or maybe even save us. To know the sacred trust we hold with those who will follow after, the trust that morally obligates us to not drink up the bottle of water just because we have it and are afraid and are feeling vulnerable, but to use it, to pour it out as an act of love and to recognize it as the key that it is to upholding life beyond our own skin. Each traveler to that pump was confronted, as we all are from time to time, with how we balance what we love and what we fear. Fear and vulnerability would tell us to just drink our fill from the bottle and to be done with it, to not take a chance on some worn-out pump and a dusty hand-scrawled note from a stranger, to take the water at hand rather than wager that there was more to be had. But love tells us to take the risk, to trust and to have faith, to prime the pump to serve a greater good, to meet a need beyond our own, with deep confidence that in doing so, we will too somehow be okay, and that all shall ultimately be well. Love and fear, fear and love. In such a moment of vulnerability, what would you do? What do you hope you would do with that proverbial pump? Rarely in this life do we find a note with such explicit instructions about what we are supposed to do. Most of the time, we just struggle to strike the right balance without ever having as much information as we would like or need. We make a calculation between love and fear and simply do the best that we can with what we know in a given moment. It's a very vulnerable place to be. But being there, living there as we do each day, and embracing our shared vulnerability can change things when we grow our ability to see through fear, to find the love beating in our sometimes anxious hearts. In doing so, we may well find that there is less reason to be afraid. This doesn't mean, of course, that risk and vulnerability ever go fully away. It doesn't mean that there's nothing left to fear. But it is instead that we can become more compassionate and more understanding when we bear witness to the very vulnerability that binds us to one another. When we recognize the shared struggle that is at the heart of the human condition, and when we become, in the face of that, more humane. This shift in our perception can be a great blessing, for it leads on towards a more fulsome life. For it is love in times of vulnerability that gives us the courage, even in the face of our fears, to pour out the water to the very last drop in the sacred trust that there will be enough. Such is our covenant with ourselves and with each other and with all of life. Blessed be.
You're holy, my
all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do not know about sorrow, and Julian, do not know about pain. I said, Julian, do not know about hunger, and Julian, do not know about shame. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do not know about loneliness, and Julian, do not know about disease. I said, Julian, do not know about cruelty, and Julian, do not know when it brought me to my knees. And she said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. She said, no one does not know of sorrow, and no one does not know about pain. She said, no one does not know about hunger, and no one does not know about shame. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. She said, no one does not know about loneliness, and no one does not know about disease. She said, no one does not know about cruelty. She said, I know it's too much, it's brought me to my knees. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, you're holy, my hand, and Julian, you're holy, my hand. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. She said, baby girl, do not know of tenderness, and Julian, do not know about friends. She said, baby girl, do not know of spirit. She said, baby girl, do not know. It's only love that never ends, and so all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well.
Beautiful. Thank you. Our outreach recipient this morning is the Edible Garden Project. As you know, it operates Lutet Farms, and it operates 5 volunteer-driven sharing gardens and a schoolyard garden at Sutherland. The Edible Garden Project grows and distributes fresh vegetables to a number of needy organizations and individuals on the North Shore, and it runs a bunch of workshops encouraging people just to grow their own food. If you're able, please mark on your envelope. We have a special request that people use the envelopes. That allows you to get a tax receipt. And unless you mark otherwise on your envelope, everything will go this morning. All our proceeds will go to the Edible Garden Project. And a little reminder that you can now actually donate by text or by the QR code by credit card. That takes a little bit of setting up, so if anyone needs help with that after the service, we're happy to help. Please give as generously as you're able. A few announcements this morning. Please join us after the service. It's a Super Sunday. Diane Hicks has again prepared a delicious meal for us all, so we welcome you afterwards downstairs. Suggested donation is $5. And Sue is creeping up here to come and share with us about next week's service.
Next week we have a really great speaker. He's going to be sharing his experience and insights about truth and reconciliation. What is it, and how can we better live in the spirit of reconciliation? Now, Ken is an accomplished historian, professor, and author, and I know him personally. He's a friend from the island, and he's just super at sharing his expertise about the issues facing Indigenous communities and governments. And that's a key part of his life's work. He's very engaged with it all. Then following the service, we're going to do something different. We're going to invite you to grab some refreshments just at the back of the room here, and then come back up here to join Ken for an Ask Me Anything session. And interestingly, his philosophy is there are no stupid questions, and that the worst thing for reconciliation is to not ask what's on your mind. So maybe questions like this. I moved to Canada 25 years ago. Why am I implicated in reconciliation? Or, does tearing down statues and renaming institutions further reconciliation, or might it hinder reconciliation? Honestly, Ken invites you to ask anything that you might have bubbling around in your heart. And so please join us for what I expect will be a heartfelt, informative, and inspiring morning. And there'll be great music too. Like today, wow. Different than today, very different.
Thanks, Sue. A little bit more about music. Allison is offering ukulele classes. As we know, it started last week, but anyone is still welcome to join. Just bring a ukulele. It's just before choir practice on Thursdays from 6:30 to 7. And Allison is also offering a, hold that thought, yeah, thanks. Allison's also offering a beginning to sing group. So if you're one of those who kind of mouths the words to hymns, doesn't really sing them, she would love you to join. And if you're interested, ask to her about it. The plan is for it to be a few Sundays immediately after the service, low stress, but she would love for you to join if you're interested. Speak to Allison. October 6th, that is our town hall meeting. That'll be after the service, and there'll be a lunch as well. It's an opportunity, again, for our community to gather and to share thoughts about what our future might look like. Pretty exciting. A reminder about the Fun Fest coming up. That's a Bunko event. I think it's such a great name, Bunko. Sue and Barry have done this event a number of times. And Barry, what's your line about this event?
It's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
There you go. I told Barry I couldn't say that for him, but he was welcome to say that. It's a lot of laughter and fun, and there are still spots, so please sign up. Marga, Hannah, is offering an amazing series, a 5-part series called Mythology Then and Now. So that's going to be for 5 Thursday evenings, starting October 29th. And it's really exploring the powerful stories of Joseph Campbell. So thank you, Marga, for offering that. And as I understand it, you offered this at Silver Harbor last spring, and it was very well received. And so Marga's kindly offering that here as well, which is really lovely. A couple other little things, some new little things. Just a reminder, we have a beautiful new wheelchair-accessible bathroom right adjacent to Janny's office. So if anyone needs the bathroom or you just want to go check it out, feel free to go through Janny's office for a beautiful upstairs bathroom. A couple other new things. We haven't now, the yellow room is now going to be called a quiet zone. So before the service, if you walk in and everyone's greeting each other, hey, how are you? And that's not your space, then you're actually welcome to go into the quiet room. It's kind of set up as people can have a bit of sacred, reverent, quiet space before coming and joining the service. So that's a new thing. We'll trial that and see how that goes. As always, feedback is welcome. And just a reminder that joys and sorrows, there is a little binder at the front. So as you walk into the service, if something's on your heart and you'd like us to lift that up during the service, there's a place there that you can write that for that to be mentioned in the service. Are there any other announcements?
I think the mythology is on Tuesdays, 7 to 9. You could ask Margaret.
Is that right, Marga?
It's not likely to be Thursdays because choir is on Thursdays.
We will check the dates.
It is Tuesdays.
All right, that's wrong. We'll fix it. I'll take responsibility for that. There you go, Tuesdays. Thank you. Thank you for correcting that. Any other announcements? Okay. Well, let us rise and join in singing Love Will Guide Us, a beautiful hymn, number 131.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to be with you today and to build relationships between our congregations. I'm really grateful to have this tie with you. I invite you to take your seats, if you will, for the closing words. And let these words from Denise Levertov in her poem, The Fountain, wash over you as a bit of a final meditation for this service. Don't say there is no water to solace the dryness at our hearts. I have seen the fountain springing out of the rock wall and you drinking there. And I too, before your eyes, found footholds and climbed to drink the cool water. The woman of that place, shading her eyes, frowned as she watched, but not because she grudged the water. Only because she was waiting to see we drank our fill and were refreshed. Don't say there is no water. The fountain is there, among its scalloped green and gray stones. It is still there and always there, with its quiet song and strange power, to spring in us, up and out through the rock. Blessed be.
Thank you, Shawn. Let us together close our service. We extinguish this flame, the light of religion and the warmth of hope. The world calls us to live with depth, meaning, and purpose. We go forth with courage and love. Before we sing our closing song, I just really want to thank you, Shawn, for being here with us this morning. It's really great to get to know you better and to have you get to know us a little bit. And in your work at VanU and in your work with the Unitarians of the Lower Mainland, we really wish you strength and fortitude. It seems like a Unitarian minister is not, to borrow someone's words, it's not a growth industry at the moment. And I don't understand that because it really should be. Yeah. So we hope you leave here this morning knowing that we're with you, and we send blessings to you and to VanU in the work that we all need to do in this world. Yeah. We need to live out loud. We need to know that all is well, and we need to know that we can answer that call. I mentioned last week about Billy Bragg, and actually Jell and I and Jennifer and Bruce went and saw Billy Bragg, who's an activist singer. He played at the Commodore on Friday night. And I mentioned the quote last week, which was, Billy Bragg gets asked a lot, Billy, do you really think that music can change the world? And he always answers, of course not, but it doesn't stop you trying. And in the concert on Friday night, he mentioned that the other piece to that is that music doesn't change the world, but sometimes it's the power of music that helps you believe that the world can be changed. Please rise as you're able, and let's sing our closing song, Spirit of Life.